I'm Praveen Gautam, your trusted marketing advisor. I help entrepreneurs and enterprises to build their digital brand and monetize it. Today's episode, I have got a special guest, Anthony Chiminello, to share about mindset. And he's sharing about 3 mindset skills to thrive in a crisis like this. A little bit about Anthony. Anthony is a trusted property advisor with more than 25 years of experience across Asia and Australia, and has a proven track record in building and protecting wealth for his clients. He also acts as a personal mentor for professionals and run a positive thinking program, which he believes is an important foundation for greater clarity, balance, and progress in life. I'm really excited to have you, Anthony. Welcome to the show, mate.
Thanks, Praveen. Good to be here.
Likewise, good. Let's get onto it, actually. So mindset is everything. Yeah?
Yes, it certainly is. I think my first experience of understanding the power and influence of the mind was in my early 20s. And, my first real job was with a large corporation known now as CBRE, Real Estate Corporation. And
right.
in your early 20s, you're always looking to excel and achieve success as quickly as possible. So in those early days, I studied a lot of the really top operators in the industry, and I came to the conclusion that my skills and my knowledge wasn't very much different to theirs, but why were they so successful? Why were they so extraordinary? And I came to the conclusion that the difference was between a trained mind and an untrained mind. Everybody can learn skills and knowledge, but the big difference is really in the application of the mindset. So I understood that they had the ability to develop and maintain a balanced and positive mindset. And when I say balanced, that's a very important word, because most people think to be a positive thinker that you are constantly in a state of positivity and looking for the optimism in everything. But that's the greatest way we cause more stress and get into negativity, because as a human being, we fluctuate from positive to negative. So the ideal position to be in is in a state of equilibrium, that centeredness, that, equanimity, and from there you can access your positive mindset skills and you can recover from those negative events very quickly and get back to home base. That centeredness, that balance, and that stability. And that is the real key. So
that's a great point. And that's a great point. That's so good. Now that follows through our next question. Sorry, please go ahead.
Yeah. No. So from there, what I actually did, Praveen, I think it's important that I actually then travelled to the mountains of India, and a lot of my colleagues will probably vouch for this, that I learnt meditation and I sat into lectures over there, and I did that for a few years until I came back. And within 4 or 5 years, I excelled and probably achieved most of my life goals at 29 years of age. And that's not from a pride point of view. It just gave me satisfaction and contentment that what I was doing was, in fact, working.
Beautiful. Now, that's a beautiful story, Anthony. It's all about the journey we learn through, isn't it? And as you just said, it's not right or wrong, but it's a trend or untrained, the mindsets, and where do you really be on, whether here or here, and then it takes time, and courage to obviously to do this. Now that's a great point. So let's move to a couple of questions. The first one is, why do you see the need to improve your mindset, and how did it boost your success? I think you shared the story, but what you're saying is it very important for every business owners at this point, especially in the crisis like this, Anthony?
Well, we understand that businesses are made up of people. They're not separate entities. They're not some sort of object. They are actually the conglomeration of people, behaviours and events. And I think that when you understand our behaviours are affected by our thoughts, then one single thought can alter your whole behaviour and the results of the company. So a very simple example is that one single thought can give you stress. And if you're stressed, you can't think straight. You can't make clear decisions. You can't collaborate. You're not creative. You're not innovative. In fact, you're causing your immunity to actually decrease, which is affecting your health. So what I'm saying is one single thought can affect 50, 60, 70, 80% of your results. So I think what I realise is most people focus on the hard skills, although that's changing now. But it's the inner game that I've learnt to actually equally spend as much time developing, because it's a software that drives the hardware. And people often come to me and say, look, this isn't working, why not? And they might have the best skills and all the right initials and education, but their mindset is not in sync with their particular results that they're looking to achieve. You know, they're still working from an old program and they're trying to achieve a new result. It doesn't meet. It really doesn't connect. And that's the biggest fault I find in getting the best out of your life, is simply maximising the quality of your thoughts.
Wow, what a great insight, Anthony. You know, someone have to update the softwares to do hardware, and all the time, you know, people talk about hard skills. You got to learn this, you got to learn this, you got to learn this in university, going college and getting degrees, all the hard skills. And obviously, as you said, you know, the things are changing. It's good, hard skills. But at the same time, now people are realizing, especially this COVID-19 crisis like this, people are realizing, oh, okay, so that's good. I have learned all these hard skills, but however, the skills like leaderships, empathy, communications, mindset, growth, and innovations, all this is so important. So now slowly the whole shift paradigm is changing. Now that's a great point. That's a great point, Anthony. So and in that, obviously, mindset plays a very vital role. There's no doubt on it. Now, followed on that, then I'm just curious, in these critical times, then what are the 3 important mindset skills to thrive in the business?
Well, being in the property industry and the sort of people that I've connected with both here and overseas, I've noticed that there are 3 reactions to most crises. I mean, you get those people that can actually see the opportunities and, you know, act on those very quickly. And they're the ones that actually thrive. And the second group, I suppose you could say, they're the ones that are a little bit reserved, they're protected, they certainly hope that everything's going to get back to normal. And then you have that third group, which is, in fact, those that are really struggling and give up, and they put up the white flag and surrender. So in any crisis, we want to get from that struggle street into the thriving particular group, whereby they are maximising their particular returns on the opportunities that present themselves. So I've really thought that some of the greatest leaders and also individual companies and businesses, that they're adopting the 3 R's. And these particular 3 R's are 3 mindset skills, which in fact are transferable. It doesn't matter whether it's a crisis in your home life, your family life, you can use it anywhere. And the first skill is the ability to respond. And respond means actually acting in a proactive way. It's taking responsibility for your actions and keeping that momentum going. Those that aren't responding are focusing on what they can't control. I mean, we don't know, for instance, in this pandemic, how deep, how long, how wide, whether there's going to be a second wave, a third wave. If you put your focus on what you can't control, you actually start to paralyze your momentum. You become very defensive. And in fact, you procrastinate, you stagnate, and you actually stuck. But those people that are responding are focusing on their sphere of influence. You know, as human beings or as a business, we can influence our focus, how we interact with our clients, our stakeholders, the operation of the business. And in fact, once you do that, you're actually creating momentum, you're creating feedback. That is real live data. And from there, you're testing, you're validating, and you're actually progressing. So I think it's really about becoming the master of your destiny and not becoming the victim of circumstances and things outside of your control. I think that's the first mindset skill.
So what you are saying, let me recap. What you are saying is respond. So focused on what you can control rather than you can't control, because I understand as a business owners or entrepreneurs, and especially the crisis like this, they focus on can't control or should control. So what you're saying is focus on what you can control. Yeah.
Yes, and that's your sphere of influence, your direct sphere of influence to keep your momentum going, engaging with your stakeholders, your employees, your customers, your investors, your advisors, and from there you can get feedback and then decide how you progress with your business.
That's great. So let's move to the second point, Anthony, please.
The second skill, I think, is the ability to readjust. And now that you're connecting with your stakeholders, you're starting to get feedback and you really understand where you need to divest your resources. And that might be changing your business model. It might be changing your processes, your systems to meet the needs, wants and desires of your target market. And there's been many examples of this. I mean, I do a bit of work in Myanmar and fashion companies were making face masks, they were making PPE equipment, and alcohol companies are making hand sanitizers. And in the property industry, we're learning how to conduct auctions online and have virtual inspections, and also our CRM system. So all of those are readjusting to take account of a new landscape, the new behaviours of our target market. And I think it was Einstein that said that I think the key for an intelligent person is the ability to adapt, to be flexible. And I think that's such a powerful mindset skill in this ever-changing environment. It is so relevant. So once we readjust, we then move into the third R, which is the ability to reimagine. So given now that the economic landscape has changed, the behaviours of your target market, I suppose you need to ask yourself, what do we stand for as a company in the future? Are we going to make more of a positive difference to our community, our city, our country? That needs to be your North Star. That needs to be the sort of direction you take. And then you need to align all your systems and processes and your staff to that particular line. I mean, particularly a business model, how are you going to capture value? How are you going to generate value? You need to know where you're going before you know when you're going to get there, essentially. So, those three R's are very transferable for any crisis. The ability to respond, the ability to readjust, and the ability to reimagine your new pathway, which is quite exciting.
Wow. That's certainly very powerful 3 hours. And I, I must admit, the way how we program everything is so important. And especially this changing landscape, or as you said, changing wise or changing world, the new normal, definitely someone have to reimagine that, and obviously respond or readjust in such a way they are one step ahead in the business. And you're given a perfect example, because the way we're doing business, the way we're communicating with our clients, the way we interacting, the way how we engaging, and exactly like the videos. I mean, people never thought about the videos and other things would be, but in last few years, I mean, especially it has slowly grown, but in last, especially this years, in few months, it has grown rapidly. And what you're saying is some of the stats from LinkedIn and some of the stats from Essentials, it come out that, look, now moving ahead, a lot of things would be changed. 70-80% of the pre-sales would be online. Clients would the whole way of communication would be different. So it would be very interesting. It would be interesting for sure, even after post-COVID. But definitely follow through 3 hours. Now that's a great point, Anthony. So I see some of the viewers are watching this from Facebook and number of channels here and LinkedIn as well. So if you like this, what Anthony have to say, please share, like and comment. And obviously we'll see if there's anything we can add value there. So let's carry on, Anthony, if you like. So now the other questions is, what advice can you give for people to improve their mindset, and how can you help?
Well, my experience is the first thing is that you need to really look at what you need to progress. And once you know what your aim or goal or purpose is, you have to find out what the roadblocks are and where you need assistance. And sometimes that takes a bit of humility, because a lot of senior executives that I've spoken to, they think they know it all, but they realise that they don't. And I think it takes an ability to look within yourself. And if certain patterns keep repeating, that you keep coming up with certain challenges and you're not breaking through, then maybe there's a blockage in your thought patterns, in your trapped emotions, in your habits or your actions. So the first thing is to have that humility and simply be aware. And I think then the next step is to have the courage to reach out to someone. I mentor people sometimes formally and informally, and they're the ones that have taken the courage. And it's not as if I'm more intelligent. We all have experiences in different facets of life, and we can all add value to each other. So I might see a perspective or have a suggestion or have an insight that this particular person or company doesn't have. And sometimes a slight change can make a huge difference in the results. It's a breakthrough. And then I think the third thing is the discipline to follow through on the assistance that you've been given. I think it's humility, I think it's courage, and I think it's the discipline to actually, take the bull by the horns and actually follow through on what you need most.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree with you. Especially being as a business leader or entrepreneur, it is so important, because obviously it comes with the mindset. Either you think the crisis is, this COVID-19 is a crisis, or is this the opportunity? And if you're thinking in that, having that positive mindset or a growth mindset, if you like, then obviously it would be an opportunity where you would see you drive the positive outcomes and you leave a legacy. That's a beautiful segue there, Anthony. So if some of the viewers, if they're watching this, whether from YouTube or number of the channels here, what would be a key takeaway from this interview? If there's one thing you want to focus there, then what is the one thing they can take away right now, Anthony?
Well, I think you can summarize everything to do with mindset and life in a particular quote, which I've forgotten where I saw it, but it goes something like this: if I always think the way I always thought, I'll always do what I've always done. And if I always do what I've always done, I'll always get what I've always got. And that to me says that the seed of every action and every result in our life starts on the thought level. So simply be aware of the landscape of the mind, the diet of the mind. We worry about the diet of the body, but what sort of toxic thoughts are we putting in our mind, which then has a very toxic output or creates huge blockages to simply becoming the best we can be.
Wow. Thank you so much, Anthony, for your time. I mean, really that changed. What a great insight, and to add value to our community. That's a great insight, and it's all about having that positive mindset. It's all about having that confidence, and finding you and your purpose. That's a very great message. Thank you, Anthony. So, by the way, if you like this video and if this, Anthony have to say, and you believe on the positive mindset, please share, like, and comments, and we'd love to hear your feedback. Anything before we go? Anything you wanna Anything you want to add on, Anthony?
No, I've just updated my website, and for those that are interested, I run a very basic positive mindset course. It's a very simple, because I believe in life is meant to be simple. We've just complicated, and therefore we think the answers need to be complicated. Absolutely not. If anyone wants to ask any questions about any problems or roadblocks they've got in their progress, as I said, I'm happy to respond to that, or even have some sort of informal or formal chat, whatever they feel is appropriate. But my website is simply bwi.com.au. That's B for bridge, W for world, I for international.com.au. I also have a series of articles which I produce every month. Yeah. So if you want to subscribe to that, obviously they're tips on how to improve ourselves for life in general. But other than that, no, it's pretty straightforward.
Thank you so much again, Anthony. So if you're listening this, or if you're viewing for different channels, it's bwi.com.au. And Anthony is happy to take your questions and have a quick call over the Zoom, over the Skype. So I hope you find this episode as valuable. Until then, stay safe and well. Bye for now.
Thanks, Prabin.